Hi, everyone. Welcome to the last panel of our summit. This panel is called Reimagining Intangibility, the power couple who brought Chinese traditions to the Metaverse. And we have our two distinguished guests here, who are Jiajian and Borou who are the founders of MYStudio and fellows at Harvard Chem Lab. Now let's welcome them to give us a presentation about their projects.
Hello, everyone. My name is Jiajian.
Yeah, and my name is Borou. You can also call me Anna.
Yeah. So first, thank Aaron and Leah very much for organizing this panel, and also thank you all for staying until the last panel today for the whole summit. So it's our great pleasure to be here at the Borou China Summit to talk about reimagining intangibility. Oh, sorry. I think Leah. I think the computer sometimes it just.
Oh, it's coming.
Okay, great. And so we'll share some of our works bring Chinese tradition into the metaverse. And some short backgrounds. We founded MYStudio in 2020, also during the pandemic. So some relationship to the last panel. And that's the time when we decided to kind of gradually get into the digital space. And also, of course, it's really hard to balance make the work-life balance, just work, no life at all. And so right now we also work at Harvard Chem Lab and teaching at Tsinghua University, China Academy of Art and Central Academy of Fine Arts.
Yeah, and I want to say, for long history, people have been building architecture as a multimedia environment, as you could see in this image. So architecture, sculptures, paintings, calligraphy, music, and ritual, all media expressions in the space are integral to a larger program, creating a surreal experience in the physical space, engaging and inspiring the visitors and users. So this provides a powerful example of how multimedia can be used to convey complex and nuanced messages in both Chinese and Western culture. So it's a universal belief. And this could be seen as the very beginning of Metaverse.
And so for our own studio, we focus a lot on cultural heritage and multimedia creation, trying to bring together the history to the future, as well as how technology can enable arts and how arts can inspire technology development. And so all in all, we try to create cultural identity and kind of a universal understanding for the whole community. And our main focus is right now a contemporary interpretation of cultural heritage and embodied exhibition and cognitive performance in extended reality, as well as translation between media from artistic expression and scientific research. So we try to create and curate experimental work that explores enduring question of human consciousness, including performance, installation, exhibition, film, VR, AR, digital publication, metaverse, so all kinds of media. And also interdisciplinary collaboration with researchers, scientists, artists, dancers, performers, kind of bring us new insights and inspirations. So today we are going to share 4 different works with you.
Yeah, so first I want to talk about Xingqi. Xingqi is a series of multimedia and set-specific dance theater, dance film, and interactive installations created during our artist residency at Jiajian Imperial Kiln Museum, Jiangxi Province, China. And Xingqi Consciousness is a dance film, so let's watch a film now. Yeah, so 行气. So 行气, the Chinese name means the form and the energy or the breath or the air, and it comes together. And the name stems from the Chinese philosophical discourses, as you could see here. So 一气之变，所视万形 is from 庄子, and 大音希声大象无形 is from 老子. And 天地合气，万物自生 from 王充论衡. I believe some of you know it, some of you may not. So let's see the English translation. It's by ChatGPT. Yeah, and what I want to say is that the dramaturgy, the choreography, composition, and costume are derived from the historical research of the imperial Qun, which means the 景德镇御窑, the digitalization dataset of the unearthed ceramic gene documentations, 他们出土的基因库、陶瓷基因库, yeah, and the traditional craftsmanship of blue and white porcelain, which means 青花瓷. Yeah, as well as the space of the Imperial Qun Museum and the relic set of the Qun since Yuan dynasty. You can see it's around 700 years ago, so very long history. And talking about the Jingdezhen. So Jingdezhen, known as the main city of Chinese China, as you could see, some people would imagine that what you could see in Jingdezhen, all the like treasures, like something up over there. But actually, people, when the scholars first discovered Jingdezhen, they only found the debris of the China, like the downward things. So when they complete the puzzles, they realize these are not really debris. These are the demolished treasure, very similar with the ones in the Forbidden City, as well as the courts in European and even in Islam countries, from Spain to Portugal, Netherlands, and Turkey. So which means there is communication between culture, countries, and continents, originated no later than hundreds of years ago, and now we call it the Maritime Silk Road, 海上丝绸之路. At the same time, we found more evidence about the cultural communication. So you could see one of the many and a very important one. Oh, I can move this, so I will change here. Oh, like this one. Yeah. So you could see the one scrolls pattern, yeah, over there, which is found on the blue and white porcelains. It's a combination of the Chinese traditional cloud pattern originated in Han Dynasty like 2,000 years ago. It's a combination of the Islamic plant pattern. So this means that there is communication between culture, and this goes through until today, and there is a blast of life and growth. So the performance itself, it interprets the aesthetics of the Imperial King from fragment to eternity, and the spirit of resilience and romance. And the performance describes the life journey of the blue-white porcelain as a transformation process of 5 process. So it's a shape, okay, here it is. So it's a shape and formation, the first image, and the paint and glaze, the second one, and the sinter and forge, the third one, and the demolishment and the rebirth. So, and we translate the dramaturgy into dance and music from motifs to sentences and sections, which I won't develop in detail today. But one thing I want to mention is the AI visuals. So to unveil the shadow of the history and to boost some bold imagination, we created some visuals with artificial intelligence design tools. This was a time when we just started using Midjourney and Stable Diffusions. Sounds like 1,000 years ago. Huh? So we experimented how the original AI things could do, how they understand the blue and white porcelain, and they give me something like this, and how they understand brush stroke, and it's like this, and flowers and the patterns. And also we motivate the AI visuals with choreography in generating dancing clay and fluid fire. So AI gave me something like this. And also, we demolished the 2D visuals into fragments, just like the people hundreds of years ago demolished the clay itself. We project the visuals onto the dancer's body and the relics, and we document all this in the dance film. So it's like this, and it's the relic where they made the porcelains. And I want to say it's a dialogue between body motion, digital visual motion, and the camera motion. So in other words, it's an orchestra of motions. And now featuring at the special exhibition Imperial Kiln Universe, Mixture of Blue and White of the Imperial Kiln Museum, and it's also as part of the 5th Arabian China Art Festival. And a demo premiere at the Aircom Forum at New York University last year. And it was also shown as 2022 Hangzhou Bijiang International Dance Festival, and we were invited to Arte Laguna, the Venice Arsenal, and performed at the opening celebration last Saturday. Yeah, so that's what you could see on set. And we question, so how we understand the material and tangible cultural heritage and translate into tangible body language and media creation? What has changed and what has maintained through the hundreds of years? What does it mean to perceive this with our human body? And how we understand the cultural context as an embodied complex of space, media, and time. So that's an experiment from traditional culture to metaverse. Okay, it's our first project.
The second project is called Cloud Mountain Painting. So it's a combination between artificial intelligence and as well as augmented reality. And so cloud, this is a very long history theme in the traditional Chinese culture, from Ma Wangdui woodcuts to the flying asparagus of Dunhuang, and also clouds and mountain painting by Mi Fu. So clouds, it's kind of depicted as a symbol of freedom, transcendence, and divine intervention. And in China, there's just so many mountains that are famous for their scenery of clouds and mountains, but only one that's in Huangshan could be called the Sea of Clouds. That's Huangshan Yunhai. So this project we did is at the peak of Huangshan. It's a hackathon for 3 days. We work together with our students from China Academy of Arts. And so first, so this is a very famous saying in Chinese called accompanied by clouds and fog, mountains dwell in my mind. So the mountain itself is not only a very abstract thing in the painting, in the image, but it's also very realistic there. And it's also an imagination in the artist's mind. So it's both solid, physical, and it's also kind of spiritual. So as we can see here, since ancient times, artists have depicted Huangshan through a lot of different images media, forming a unique Huangshan image and concept, from scroll painting, prints, woodcuts, to modern photography and videos. So each medium is both realistic and abstract, both a personal expression of the artist itself, but also a collective imagination. So the Huangshan is both real, that exists there, but also an imaginary fairy mountain image that does not exist at all. And so we're really wondering, in our own area, so how can we use artificial intelligence and augmented reality to reactivate the old media itself, as well as reconstruct the contemporary perception of Huangshan? So here, we selected 4 very representative milestones of Huangshan art history, including first is records of Huangshan Zhi woodcuts from Song Dynasty. And the second is Shi Tao. So he's the founder of Huangshan Painting School during the Yuan and Ming Dynasty. And the third one is a very famous landscape painter called Huang Binghong. And the last one is Lang Jingshan, almost the earliest photography of Huangshan. And so we translate these 4 different milestones, like art, histories, images, into our own AR experiences. So we have all kinds of different translation process. The first one, as we can see for Huangshan Zhi, because the painting is mainly line drawing. So for here, we use the line as the main elements to create the AR experience. And the second one, we use artificial intelligence to train a model and use StyleGAN to do a style transfer. And for Huang Binghong, we did 2-dimensional layering of a series of layering of drawing onto the mountain itself. And the last one, we use a three-dimensional like animation. So as we can see here, the media itself also developed from like very abstract lines all the way to three-dimensional animation. And so we also, like this is some images we use, like the painting from Shitao to create a data set and train the StyleGAN model to be the style transfer into the photos on the left of the mountain itself. Yeah. And here we can see a small video. So on the top of the mountain, so this is the time is very foggy there. Like sometimes you can see the very clear mountain, and sometimes you only see fog, and sometimes you can see the clouds. So this is the first one, the Huangshanzhi. So you can see we use the brush like a painting to represent the Huangshanzhi. And this is the second one. We use the kind of like a filter, AI filter, to translate the photography, like the video of the existing mountain itself into Shitao style. And this is the third one. We use kind of a layering of the painting to overlay on the mountain. And the last one is the animation of the photography aesthetic. Yeah. So this one is totally three-dimensional and spatial experience. Yeah. Okay. And the third project we want to share is called Documenta. So Documenta is a Metaverse science fiction exhibition we did last year together with Penglai Sci-Fi Academy and as well as China Academy of Arts School of Innovation and Design. So Anna and I, we are the curator and try to organize all the exhibits and spatial design for the whole exhibition. And let's look at the small video first. So the title Documenta is a new word we created. So it's also a new type exhibition typology. It's a combination between Documenta and Metaverse. So meta, it means beyond. So this is a beyond a simple documentary exhibition. Louis Wittgenstein once says, the limits of my language means the limits of my words. So here we try to use imagination as a medium of language to open up the possibility of thinking. And so here we have two types of exhibits. First is the literature, the science fiction, and the second is the new media art. So we try to create a kind of new relationship between the arts and the literature exhibits. So for the science fiction itself, there are different medias like text, that's the main one, and animation, as well as film. And for the new media arts, there's also like videos, sounds, and 3D models. So we basically take the new media arts, the 3D assets, to make them as the scene of the different galleries, and to put the science fiction literature as the exhibits into it. So create a kind of exhibition, new exhibition relationship. And as we can see here, so this is a spatial organization of the exhibition itself. Different from traditional like physical exhibition, here we have the space divided into 10 different parts. So there are 8 triangular space here called Fractal, Wonder, City, Superhero, Chaos, Reenchantment, Fantasy, and System. So these are the themes that organize the science fictions as well as the new media arts into 8 different categories. We also have the reading room. That's a very special exhibition for Brian Aldiss, a late British, very famous sci-fi writer, as well as a dark room, an immersive space, mainly for new media artists' work. And each triangle itself has its own gravity. So they are placed in a way that the ceiling of the exhibition of the gallery itself is actually the floor of another gallery. So as we can see here, so this is the dark room, kind of immersive experience in the metaverse. So it's an immersive experience of another immersive experience. And this is the one of the triangle. As we can see here in the ceiling, you can see a kind of city-like landscape. That's actually another gallery that's floating above. Right now, right here, like we create a kind of multifaceted world of anti-gravity. And so the audience can jump between the media, the space, and the time. And there are kind of different narrations like chronological, flashback, as well as retrospective. So one of the main media and elements here is the text itself, the literature itself. So we did a lot of research on, like from history, what's the kind of media and representation of the text, and how do we exhibit the text here. And so as we can see here, there are all kinds of different forms of exhibition, but our main idea is trying to create a kind of scrolling of the text in the sky, like called 天书. So the text here, actually, if you want to read the novel itself, you can click a hyperlink, so you can jump into another space. But right now in the Metaverse exhibition, the text is translated into a kind of a visual element that emphasizes its own meaning of being a text and its own aesthetic quality.
Okay, now let's see our fourth and the last project today. It's called the Window, an interactive multimedia installation. Okay, let's watch the video and I will talk over it. Yeah. So Window is an installation that reconstructs my quarantine experience and environment from the US to China last year, introducing the audience into my memory and dreams. So during the quarantine time, the room was a container of our physical body, and the window as an outlet became the metaphor of hope and imagination to re-access the outer world. And the composition of point clouds, sound, text, and the aesthetics of transparent and vanishing objects delineate the real space as a representation of the mental projection. So to bring the audience into the artistic imagination, a window offers an interactive experience that deconstructs words, evokes memories, and overturns dreams for the audience. And there are two acts, Act 1, window as a dream, and Act 2, window as a monologue. So we are watching the Act 1 follow. So Act 1 focuses on the reproduction of the space, the emotion and the mental expression of the experience through interactive soundscape and visuals. So if you are seeing this as an installation in the exhibition, you will feel it interactive, and now it's we do. So we fly through point cloud rooms, or the rooms moving around like ocean creatures, and indulge into non-existing rooms and spiritual hubs like this. At the same time, when the participants get closer to the windows, the remix sound effects collected from the outside world will be triggered. The window, as a very focus was broken, becomes the portal to another ethereal world. So people might be reminded of universal motifs of hollow, light, and space, such as the complex kitchen ceiling of Chinese temple, the oculus of pavilion, and the window of cathedral. It's the interface between inside and outside, darkness and brightness, material and spiritual, physical and digital. And the industrial regulation of one common, normal, accessible room transforms into a spiritual concept of invisible, amorphous, intangible rooms, one after another. And the immeasurable scale and overwhelming beauty lead to a feeling of them. And now you are seeing the Act 2, which focuses on the interaction and communication between the texts. So with the window blending into written text, and when people approach, the hidden information is unveiled. And the sentences from the artist's diary will be deconstructed into individual characters, flying out of the physical plane of the screen and flooding into the audience body, and finally vanishing into nothingness. With the Kinect depth camera, projector, and stereo speakers, the project developed an interaction system where the audience would immerse into the soundscape and the torrent of text from the monologue diary written during the quarantine periods. So a version was set up at the ACMC of Asia Art Gallery in Daegu, Korea, December 2022. Yeah. And to recap several points of the project, I want to say the project reflects on the concept of window, dwelling, and lighting. So for the interface of the window, I want to say that window as an interface, first is a transparent interface, which will remind you of the infinite space behind it. And also it's a refractive interface, which will give you the perception of the inside and the outside, because the light doesn't come in straightly because it would be refracted and you will see things moving around. And also it's a reflective interface, especially at night, like a mirror. So it would remind you of your self-existence and thinking of your being. And from here, we want to talk about caves. So what's behind the window or holding the window, making it into being? It's a room under the name of cave once upon a time. So as we said many times during today's presentation, the cave was a universal motif for dwelling many years ago, both in the Chinese culture, like the Mughal grottos, where people would spend a long time sitting there meditating, or the plateaus cave, where you could see the lights coming in and dropping shadows onto your walls, and you would imagine what's the difference between your inside space as a cave, the dwelling room, and outside. So from plateau, we will talk about the lighting. So it's where lightning and air and wind coming in makes the window. So for the pursuit of the light, the oculus of the pavilion, the rose window of the Notre Dame Cathedral, the traditional Chinese carved wood windows, they all lead to the pursuit of the light. A window becomes a portal to light. And today we created a digital window as a portal to dream. So this is a unique but also universal perspective in such a special period. Now, as we are in the post-COVID time, and we still remember the experience and how we find a way out, how we find a way to communicate with the others and ourselves. So it's a dialogue between the place and light, body and space, human and nature, individual and community, and physical and the spirituality. So that's it.
Oh, not finished yet. That's
Okay.
just the last part. Two more slides. So yeah, so we try to build a network with a larger context of museums, research institutes, academies, art community, as well as tech communities. So different communities have their different focuses, and we try to connect them together, establish the pipeline, methodology, as well as new experiments. And so, so this is MYStudio, as we can see here. We create multimedia, multi-sensory, and multidimensional experience. Try to engage the mind and the body with multidisciplinary collaboration. So that's it. This is MYStudio. This is our metaverse. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the wonderful presentation. It was truly inspirational. We have a few questions for discussion. Would you mind discussing more about the recent trends and development of new media art back in China? And how do you see the industry to be evolving in the next few years?
Okay, so I will start. So talking about the trends, I think different people have different ideas, and I will say something in my opinion. So first, as people, couple working in the cultural heritage activation, I think the cultural context has been a trend for the Chinese new media arts. As you could see, there are several really famous, significant topics this year, like the Dunhuang. If you have ever been to China in the past 5 years, you would see a lot of Dunhuang exhibitions emerging all over the China. And different people or different institutes would emphasize on different perspectives of this. Like some people would emphasize more on the murals, some people on the cave itself or the architecture. Some people talking about the dancing asparagus, the goddess. And some people talking about the cute animals like the deers or the singing birds. Yes, so there are different aspects of Dunhuang that you could use to remake into media creations. And there are also other topics related to ancient Chinese history, like the paintings. Maybe you know of Qingming Shanghe Tu. So it's a very long Chinese traditional drawing, and the people are making this into animation, and maybe you project it into a circular space and making it into immersive. Yeah, and this also happened to the traditional Chinese architecture exhibitions like the Forbidden City, the Gugong. Yeah, they also put this in the circular immersive room. So I think culture has been a context for the trend. This is one thing. And another thing maybe related to that is the TV shows, I mean the media formations. So people are not only seeing this in exhibition, they also watch this on TV shows, on the web. So there are different kinds of TV shows like reality shows, or theater, or dancing programs. Maybe you know of 国家宝藏, the national treasures. So each of the treasure is dramaturged into a short theater about the background. And there is another called 5000年, the 5,000 years of dancings. A lot of my friends are from dancing schools, and they take turns to the TV shows and to show the classical dances. Yeah, I will say something about the cultural context, and it's your turn.
Yeah, I think the kind of new media arts in China is very, like, there's a growing interest there. And not only about, for example, as we are teaching at a lot of academies in China, so you can see a lot of students are interested in using new media to express themselves. And also, I think the exhibition all kinds of immersive exhibition or interactive exhibition is also growing popularity. And also the exhibitions in themselves is kind of stepping out of the gallery, because traditional art like sculpture, painting, you can see mostly is in gallery. But right now, like public art is very good field for the for new media. So you can see some projection mapping onto the landmarks of the museums in the city, as well as all kinds of public engagement. So I think it's a very interesting phenomenon. Yeah.
So back to your experience with creating art with like new media technologies, like how do you see the difference in the presentation and reception of AI art compared to like more conventional art forms? Like how do you, what would you say about the merits and limitation of this new technologies?
Yeah, okay. So yeah, in our works, we're also trying to explore like artificial intelligence is growing like extremely popularity recently, like ChatGPT, like also the last panel mentioned, Midjourney version 5 right now, Stable Diffusion Control Net. And they are such a powerful tool that did revolutionize the way we create. And also, we didn't show one project today. It's a film we did this year in the MIT AI film hackathon. We trying to develop a pipeline integrating all kinds of artificial intelligence tools into the filmmaking process. And we're also teaching a studio at Tsinghua right now, trying to blend our architecture design, filmmaking, as well as like AI related topics. And I think it's a tool that you cannot ignore. And maybe in the future, it won't be a tool. It might be your your friend that you will co-create, co-pilot together. And so it did have some issues like copyrights, and because you use the existing artworks for the data set to train, and style transfer is kind of controversial right now. But I think it's a trend that we cannot ignore. Yeah.
Do you have any general advices for like artists, student artists to implement AI technologies?
Yeah, I think it won't replace artists, and it won't replace traditional art form. For example, like image making right now is so easy that text to image, you can just type some words and you can generate so much, quite a lot of very, very nice looking image. But I think like traditional art painting, it seems it's two-dimensional, but it actually is three-dimensional. The brushes, the paint itself is actually a physical thing that cannot be replaced. So I think for young artists, it's great to trying to at least learn about it and see what's the advantages and what's the weakness. And because whether or not to embrace it or not, you have to admit its existence. Yeah.
I will wait for the next question.
Okay, just one final question from me. So, like, can you briefly talk about the impact of these immersive experiences in like preserving and promoting traditional heritage? Because do you see as a means to like enhance our understanding of cultural heritage, or like undermines it through the limitation of sensory experience?
Yeah. Sorry, could you rephrase the question a little bit? Talk about the immersive.
How do you see like the impact of immersive experiences in preserving cultural heritage?
Yeah. Long question short. I think the new media is not really interrupting any part or process of the cultural preservation, but really facilitating and accelerating it. Yeah. I will give a short example back onto the TV shows that I mentioned previously. So with this new media that there are really debates about this in China, and some people say it's communalism because people are just superficially watching this. But actually, I think it's leading to a really great trend that people start from TV shows and then they go to documentaries. And from documentaries, they go to read books and they even take courses and they take more like cultural trips into the cultural sets. And some teenagers finally choose their major when they go into university. So I think it's one example of how new media is indulging into people's life and how to say, how people think of this, unconsciously. Yeah.
Are there any upcoming projects that you two are really excited to be working on? And what can we expect from MYStudio in the future?
Yeah, we are just, like I said, we're no work balance right now. So we need some rest. As you can see, a lot of projects finished this year. Like from January, we are working on the AI film hackathon right on the Chinese Spring Festival Eve. So we have the Spring Festival with our teammates. But we're really looking forward to collaboration with different cultural institutes. Actually, not only in China, but also in the States and around the globe, because I think for the preservation and how to create new storytelling that's interesting and compelling for our new audience is a very important topic, and how to make new kind of experiences that only can exist in our own time, and kind of trying to set a landmark, like saying, okay, this is the art that only can exist in 2021, maybe next 2023, next year, then with the new AI tools, you will totally revolutionize it. So we try to keep up with the development of the artificial intelligence, as well as trying to create new experiences and new storytellings that can engage more audience. Yeah.
Yeah, and maybe bring a little back to what we really focus on. As we mentioned in the beginning of this presentation, we have three main focuses for now. One is a cultural heritage activation, and another is a immersive, like interactive space media design, and another one is how to translate between the medias and especially engage and enables tech and art with each other. So I think these days, especially last week's AI revolution really inspires everybody. And I still remember in the past 2 years how we test with every emerging AI tools. I remember from the style transfer apps for the visuals like Prisma, and later into some platforms like Runway, like you could categorize the visuals or like green screen the visuals. Yeah, and there was a very cute web-based application. I couldn't remember the name, but it would derive some animation from the hand drawings into like cushion 3D models. Yeah, and when we are teaching at Tsinghua, and this ChatGPT just emerged, and Midjourney V5 just emerged. So we are trying everything and reflecting on everything, that what does it mean to the art world, to the art industry? Is it facilitating, or how we could enable art with tech, and how the art inspires technology, how our artwork would give some feedback to the scientists, technologists, how they would think of the tech. Yeah, so I think every time there's something emerging, we will go back to work. So no really life-work balance, because we are always experimenting.
Thank you very much for your insights. Now we'll move towards the open Q&A session.
I guess the project on Metaverse was really impressive. I guess my question is around, how do you balance between the presentation, or like the form of art, and in terms of the content, what you're trying to present? So because during the limited period of time, I was focusing on the content in the Metaverse, different forms. So, but if without your explanation on like the dimensional change afterwards, I would realize, okay, you guys focus a lot also on the form aspect of the presentation. So I just wonder, how would you, I don't know, balance between these two in the limited time of your presentation? Because I guess as for me as an audience, I would only pay attention to a specific aspect of the whole project.
Okay, yeah. So I think that's a good question. Maybe because today we only show the video, so you don't really get into the space. So maybe it's hard to really experience how to get into the space, how the gravity changes. And for us, I think the content and the form, they are very importantly integrated with each other. Especially, I think all our projects starts from expansive research of the contents. Like, for example, for the Metaverse exhibition here, that's the first time we collaborate with the science fiction field. Our exhibition includes almost 20 writers' works. And so we did a lot of research about it. And so from the research of the contents, we try to see which media is the best way to represent it and what's the best platform. So that's also one of the reasons why we try to experiment with all kinds of media, because the contents kind of decides the media. Like your concept decides which media is the best to represent the content and try to show it and try to engage with the audience. So for example, some of the projects that will take place in the physical space. So maybe like augmented reality is a better way than just virtual reality. And so I think these two are very importantly related for us, right?
Yeah, and I think another way to think of this, thinking about creation and the perception, I think for artwork that the author has some thinking about it, but the audience also has his own, explanation. So it's something not avoidable. And I think it's really necessary to have different ideas of one thing, the different aspects of thinking of it. And let's think about Shakespeare. So different people read Shakespeare for hundreds of years, and different people get different ideas. And at first, maybe you only get the story, and after that, you got some logic, maybe semantic feelings about it. And then maybe after years, you watch Lion King again, and you see Hamlet there. And maybe one day you go to sleep no more, and when somebody rush to you, and you see another Hamlet layering on the back of it. So adding different layers to the different stages of your life and build on different cultural contexts, but you will discover it one after another, and you could have your own ideas.
Any more questions from the audience?
Yeah, first of all, thank you so much for taking the time to be with us today. I guess my question is, Jiajian, you've mentioned tirelessly a couple of times in the past few years in order to do the amazing project. I guess what is your thought behind your relentless pursuit of perfection, and what keeps you up at night? Do you think about this project when other people choose criticism?
Oh, okay, that's a very good question. Yeah. One reason why, how do you know I don't sleep? But time difference is a very difficult thing for us, because our projects kind of, for example, like during the weekdays, in the evenings, we always have to teach our students in China. And when we have performance in Venice, we have to kind of stay late with our dancers. And so we live in all kinds of different time zones. And one thing that's good right now, because we work from home, we don't need to go to the office, and everything is kind of digital. And a lot of our collaborators is around the world. And we have collaborators in China, collaborators in the States, in the UK. And so when you have a team that's kind of globally, you have a kind of responsibility trying to organize the team together to do something that is impressive, at least to yourself. And I think one of the thing that's push us to do more, it's our projects receive good feedback and pretty soon. Actually, that's one of the reasons why I kind of changed my career path from architecture to the digital space, because architecture, you need such a long time for one project to be finished. I did a project in Shenzhen, a cultural complex. It's a very amazing project in a very amazing site. It's in front of a big lake, and at the back is a beautiful mountain. So we did like a landscape architecture with grand theater, art gallery, and library. But that project takes kind of 10 years from the competition all the way to the opening of it. And so, in such a fast-paced world, you will easily lose your passion if you have no feedback. And either if you only have feedbacks from the client, it's not enough. And so right now our projects are kind of very experimental. We try to see what's the cutting edge technology and new media and trying to test them, prototyping, and then we will work with the artists with different teams. And after we finish a kind of a phase, we will either apply for exhibition or conferences or gallery. And very likely, because Anna and I, we just started our studio almost 2.5 years ago, and our first study on translation between art, dance, and music is got accepted into the ACM SIGGRAPH Asia poster, a very top computer vision technology conference. So then we find, okay, it seems we can do this even without the education background of this field. And that's actually one of the advantages of architecture training, because you need to learn so many different things and trying to organize them together. So I think very quick feedbacks from the industry and from our team is important for us to go.
Yeah, and another small example for this. So I used to be a dancer when I was a teenager, and when I was in architecture school, my teachers, the scholars, the professors always tells me that you should do something different because there are already so many great architects in the world, but they need something to do different. I don't know what's that, but as a dancer, I always work on the stage. So when I went to Yale and I spent a lot of time in the drama school and music school and art school, if you ever came to New Haven at Yale, you know, they're at a corner of the block, they're all together. Yeah, and one of my best teachers, Wendell, yeah, I really miss her, her time teaching me. Yeah, Wendell Harrington, she is named as the grandma of the American projection design. Yeah, but Wendell herself was like, I won't tell her age, but she said, I'm the grandma because I watched this industry grow in the past 30, 40 years. Start from the black stage, black box, and nothing there, empty stage, to the immersive media projection, all the media information integrating together. It only takes 30, 40 years. And I said to Jiajian, what does architecture changed in the last 30 years? And he said, not much. So maybe there is another career path to learn something and take it back to the original career and see what they could integrate with each other.
We'll have one last question.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for that amazing presentation. Actually, my previous question was, why do you change from architecture to interdisciplinary art? But I'll guess, do you find the transformation from a very traditional design architecture major to the interdisciplinary art do you find it difficult? Like, what are some of the challenges you face during the transition process? And how do you think your foundation in architecture has helped you in what you are doing right now?
I will start and go turn to you. Yeah, so as a very, very rebellious architecture student, I always think what is architecture and what is not, and it has been really an obstacle to me during my architecture study for years, because I have always been setting disciplines for myself. I would say maybe this is not traditional architecture design, maybe I shouldn't do this. But after years, I found it's just setting constraint for yourself, because there is no really disciplinaries, no really such things, and everything could talk to each other, and you could borrow ideas from one discipline to another. What you learn from drama school could apply in architectural school. How you learn to code for computer, like parametric, how to say, computer music design could also apply back to parametric architectural design. Yeah, and what you learn in art school, like augmented reality, would also appear in your architectural drawings. So there is no really constraints, just like each other talk and collaborate with the other people. And you couldn't imagine how other people from other professionals really want to collaborate with you, they want to talk with you. Yeah, just from very simple ideas. So I think that's something, yeah.
I still regarded myself as an architect, because we still create space that people will experience. And I think that's important aspect of architecture. Like the example we mentioned in the beginning, like the cave, the cathedral, during the time, it's a very immersive multimedia experience where the architecture is the container where the music, the sculpture, the painting, all the different art forms come together to create a immersive experience that is beyond the physical space. So I think different time, the definition of architecture might change, especially right now when we spend so much time in the digital space. And so we need to reflect on the role of architects, like where's the boundary of architecture, like and what can we do and what should we change when the time changes. So if the time change and if architecture and architects don't change, I think there might be a problem.
Do you still have time?
Yeah, we still have
I don't
time
want to
for
drag this.
the
Yeah.
question.
Okay. So thank you first of all for sharing us your amazing works, and I find it really relatable, especially the part where you use AI generative models to like create all of those traditional Chinese paintings, because I've been working with generative models a lot lately. And so this question might be a little like domain specific. So on a technical level, how difficult it is to like train a model like this, and how much of your total work goes into like coding versus like product design and brainstorming and marketing?
Okay, yeah, good question. So actually, we are not spending so much time into artificial intelligence, because we have friends whose focus is trying to, like, they are kind of regarding themselves as like tech artists. So their main theme, their main focus is trying to explore the new technology. For us right now, the technology is more like a way for us to augment our own skill sets and to find new expression of the content that we want to explore. So we basically use the very mature like tools online. Right now, you don't really need to code a lot, actually. Like you, of course, sometimes you need to use Google Colab or Hugging Face, but I think the web, like the web GL or different types of tools is already good enough for even students and artists who have no backgrounds and no experience at all. And there are just so many tutorials on the YouTube that you can learn. So, so for us, I think right now the artificial intelligence tools, they are more kind of our tool to create the contents we want to create. Yeah.
Yeah, and for the previous artworks, yeah, we only introduced 4 of our works today, but in the past 3-4 years, we did a lot of other things. And I used to code for every of them if it need to be coded. I tried processing, I use Text Designer, and I even read C# for the Unity. And yeah, I wrote Max MSP, yeah, the algorithm computing, yeah, musical making, and I even wrote Arduino code if I need. But now as the AI generative model is growing and growing, I feel I couldn't fight with it. I couldn't learn as fast as it works. So I will just let the other professional people do that, and I would build on that. And one thing I want to say that previously, we regard artists as some people that focus on one professionalism. Yeah, and later, I think our self-recognition change. An artist could be some people work with the tools and as a team. So maybe there is one individual and a lot of tools, and some of the tools are AI. So it's how you collaborate with the tools and you make use of the tools, but not you do everything by yourself. So take the benefit of the efficient, maybe.
Thank you very much for your time, for being with us today. And thank you everyone for coming to Brown China Summit. We wish to see y'all in future events. Thank you.
Thank you.